not being told to you is affecting us on a global level, which we're going to break down Iceland, and then the story where I told you the ex-cop who is now a sheriff came out and said all along the coastlines the police were getting issued basically these personal radiation devices. And this was the traffic jam today because protesters decided to do this. But these personal radiation devices were on every coastline, and some police departments said, hey, we've had devices already, but this is a new upgrade system. And what we're doing here is we're going to go deeper into the strange things that's been happening, and we're not talking about these protests that basically is coming all across from Boston to San Francisco, blocking the roads off. Remember, this is part of the art of war, because you need to have the ground troops lay before you do anything in any fashion to distract, and to have troops employed in different locations whenever you're ready to begin the tactics. So exclusive story was that all the cops only on coastlines got these devices, and these are live time tracking devices. And I've got a new story that DARPA has basically showed that the story that I was telling, the exclusive story, it goes deeper now, because I found out that DARPA just 3 days ago did this in New York and New Jersey. And DARPA Sigma program working to detect threats to New York and New Jersey just 3 days ago. Now, 3 days ago, we're going to get into the storyline, but we're going to show you how this technology works, who they're partnering with, and some strange other things that's been going on in not just coastal cities, but also all around in basically inland cities. So here's the storyline here. We're going to let you hear what DARPA says, and then we're going to read you what they're saying about the specific thing in this situation. First, though, I have to actually put on the audio to that so that you can hear it. So I'm going to put on the audio, and here it is right here. Now you can hear it.
Demonstrated a city-scale capability for detecting radiological and nuclear threats that is now being operationally deployed. DARPA is building off this work with the new Sigma Plus initiative, which is focused on providing city-to-region scale detection capabilities across the full chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, and explosive threat space. Chem Sigma sensor package incorporates a chemical sensor, wind sensor, and communications board into a weatherproof housing. Sensors report wind readings and real-time chemical information to a central cloud-hosted suite of fusion algorithms.
So the algorithms were developed using a custom simulation engine that fuses multiple detector inputs. And we built the algorithms based on simulant releases in a large metropolitan area. So we took existing data to build the algorithms for this network framework. And with this network, we're able to use just the chemical sensor outputs and wind measurements to look at chemical threat dynamics, how those chemical threats evolve over time as the wind blows, and agent concentrations as it might move throughout an environment.
So the question is, did they have this technology before? Yes, they had extensions of it, but why are they just doing this now? Because we'll take you into what they're doing now, and I think it's because of the present moment at hand and the support that they're doing this. They're now building on a past collaboration between DARPA and the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey focused on threat detection. The program is actively pursuing automated, networked, and mobile systems for continuous city-scale monitoring. This monitoring will focus on chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, explosive. Past work included realistic exercise scenarios, including 3-week capstone program in July, which spanned 15 Port Authority commands. As program Sigma Plus includes development of advanced chemical, biological, explosive sensors. Now, going into the deeper aspect of it, what are they actually doing here? It says the partnership with the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey over the past 7 years on Sigma has been critical to advancing state-of-the-art capabilities to detect and deter full-range threats. Mark Robo, who managed a program at DARPA Sciences Office, said outstanding cooperation enabled DARPA to test cutting-edge technology in the nation's largest metropolitan area. These Sigma technologies were developed by DARPA performers, physical scientists, 2-6 labs. Going forward, the final results of their products will be focused on formally transitioning the integrated sensor platform to the Port Authority and other stakeholders for long-term threat detection. So what they're doing now is exporting the technology to port authorities, which we basically said that all across the coastlines in the exclusive story we broke, they would need these detection devices, and they already gave the police departments that didn't have them, because apparently some saying, yeah, we had them, but apparently this is the lifetime one. This is like the military one. So a lot of them didn't have that. And they saying they're doing this with the Port Authority. This story even confirms more. New York PD boat provides city with extra line of defense against terrorism and dirty bombs. So in that being said, this is who they're partnering with. And they came out with this story November 14th, 2023 at a good timing, right? As soon as we broke the story, as soon as all this came out, we're going to get down into the nitty gritty of where all this is going, because you also had another strange scenario that happened in Missouri. You had a nuke sniffer go around and circle St. Louis, because we said basically it was going to be in areas where it was all on coastlines, but this is a new one that we have to talk about. Of course, it's not a classified scenario that military planes fly over Missouri, but this one, this week, a military nuke sniffer was spotted on radar constantly circling the area of St. Louis, Missouri. Why? If you've never heard of the WC-135R, it's a radiation detection plane. The U.S. Air Force uses to monitor activities across the country and abroad. There are reports that it was deployed over Chernobyl when it melted down many years ago. The code name of this is Constant Phoenix Nuke Sniffing Plane Cobra 31. It is publicly viewable on Flight Aware. This is the path that it took November 14, 2023. So this speaks volumes to the story that we broke, right? Now look at the flight pattern it took. This is in Missouri. That's one of the areas it took. And then after that, it did this weird stop and it started circling in one location right here. And it circled and it circled. And I'll show you more of it. We zoom into it more, and it circled more right along this one location right here in St. Louis. So could be potentially something there they're looking for. Could be dirty bomb. Who knows what's going on there? But that plane specifically is deployed for radiation and stuff like that. So this speaks volumes to the story here in St. Louis. You should be on alert if you see anything strange in St. Louis. And you're here right now, comment. You see anything strange in New York, New Jersey, comment. Let people know, because we need to be in tight on the community. And like, I'm really appreciative of every last one of you here, and I'm just glad that we can connect as real people and understand what's going on, because it takes this type of knowledge and this type of ground surveillance between citizens, people, or let's just say free souls, instead of saying that, 'cause citizens mean you captured by the state. Now here's the bigger story. We go into Iceland. They're not telling us something on this story. There is something huge there, and we were just talking about how this would also affect not just the international air travel, but crops. And it goes in to say U.S. stocks are lower, the U.S. dollar lower, and crude. Traders watching Iceland volcano potential impact basically on global. And so if this happens, you do understand that the crops and stuff like that are going to be affected heavily too. What they're not telling us about the Iceland story is huge. We want to go deeper into the Iceland story here today and the models of what's going on. But first, we want to show on the ground how it's just completely evacuated, and that the ground is opening up even bigger, which speaks to something else they're not telling us. So we're going to go ahead and play this clip.
So the situation right now in Grindavik, we had to evacuate the whole town a couple of days ago because of volcanic activity. And as you can see here, this is one of the things that has happened, because there is so much going on beneath us. So we have a lot of security measures going on now. We evacuated the whole town and nobody is living here. It's a town of 3,800 people, and it's basically a ghost town now.
Looking like something straight out of a movie. And how many of you know something about this scenario here? Do you know anything about tectonic plates? But this is the baseline scenario I'm going to give you. What we're not being told is there is a super volcano that is pretty much, here's the map, check on screen. It's called Katla or something like that, and it's not far from this one. So if the tectonic plates are already breaking like that, if there's a fault line or anything else, this could cause a shift towards that supervolcano. And it's not just any supervolcano. We're talking about one of the world's most powerful volcanoes. I said one of the world's most powerful volcanoes, but no, seriously. And so in this location, what we can look at here, we can look at a map with you right now about what they say could potentially happen and how this volcanic ash is going to cause it to get colder in different locations. So let's look at this on screen here. This is globally that we're worrying about this. Volcanic ash eruption, Iceland. And so look at this map here. This is one that they put out about how the world could be affected with this volcanic ash, because volcanic ash is sulfuric acid, not sulfuric acid, but sulfur that goes into the air. And when it goes to the air, it causes everything to cool off. So a lot of people are going to be screaming for the artificial sun, but they're not actually showing what could happen if the supervolcano gets affected next. And that's the big question there. So we basically got a map of that, and that would look. But first, look on screen here. I showed you one of the scenarios yesterday. This is another scenario here that's very important that you should look at, write down, and just remember, because like all the volcanic ash will spread very far. But what is the scenario that it gets even worse and the supervolcano or whatever does erupt? We're going to pull that up on screen here in just a second. The scenario, I just had it right there and it looks like it won't show it. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull it up before this is all over. I'm going to have to delete some of the slides. So the scenario we're looking at here, this supervolcano, and like I said, the artificial sun, they just got the final pieces to it at the perfect time. They even said perfect time. November 13, 2023, China delivers core components for world's largest artificial sun. Why would they need to get the last components ready? And remember I told you, I said more than just China is involved with this. It's multiple different countries. And I'll show you that in a second. Look, it says China has timely delivered all magnet support assemblies for International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor. If it's going to get ultra cold over the winter because of what's happening in Iceland, and here is another video of a scientist going there and he actually goes and puts something down inside the crack. And the crazy part is how deep it is. Check this video out. So the rock kept going down. It never hit the freaking ground. He couldn't hear it hit the ground. That means that the earth is separating and opening up hugely. So that's the other crazy part about this. And then another thing that was seen that was strange, it was over Italy's volcano. It looked like a ring or a portal or something like that. We'll show that clip here in just a second. But like I said, the crop supply will be affected, and then so you need to get ready for like all types of winter stuff, you know, heating supplies, stuff like that, because this could largely basically affect a lot. And then if the planes in Europe, the planes, some areas of US and all this stuff gets grounded, it's going to be a scenario that we ain't basically seen. So the next thing here is I wanted to show you this strange scenario in Italy that's popping up with this weird ring looking thing in the sky. What is this? So as you can see, that was right next to Italy, a volcano in Italy. And what do you think that is? Some people, let's look at what other people were saying. They were saying like somebody said hologram simulations. Somebody said Project Bluebeam. This guy said magnetic field is shifting, more heat waves, meteorites incoming, IDK. I'm just a dude on the couch for today. But other than that, the scenario at hand that we're basically facing is them not even giving us the full detail of what could happen with the Iceland scenario. And so that's why this is largely critical here. And the fact that we have the planes surveilling over, is largely critical here. And so moving on forward, the super chats are really great. They get to me, but it takes like all the way to the page. So the donation link right there, you can get it right to me right away. And let me tell you, I definitely would need that right now. So anything helps. Moving further though, this is what the story was saying. What's happening in Iceland is not simply an earthquake. Go much further than this. So we're going to get deeper down into this scenario with you. But the really critical video we did, also tying into this agenda that affects everybody, is the global frequency attacks. And we need to prepare for that because they're trying to take us out in so many ways. And we need you to watch that video because it's highly critical for you to understand what's coming. And we'll have more information